Your hand's in it.
It's artistic. Okay, can you go live?
You are live.
I know I'm live,
Yeah.
but no one's here watching me.
I know, but it's recording you.
Can I set it here?
I agree.
I don't wanna.
um, so I'll post this.
Do I talk to people or what?
Oh, he said use this thing. Yeah, people are. This is a recording, so people will see it. We'll be on YouTube. Say hi. Working out technical difficulties.
So am I talking to myself or am I gonna talk to people?
You're talking to people.
We should play some music.
You're using my phone. It's not gonna play it.
No, we're gonna do radio. 97.1 The Eagle. I want to play. Nah. Yo. Who goes there?
Is anyone in it?
I don't know.
Keypad. It says 2 people saw it and 1 person liked it.
Do we post yet?
What's that like?
Yeah. How is racing season? How is? Where'd they go? Ah. How is the racing season going? The racing season is going good so far. We've had some technical difficulties, unfortunately, that have kept us from maybe doing a little bit better this last weekend. We were running eighth, and we had a motor issue, so I didn't finish the race. But other than that, it's good to be back racing. And each round, I feel like I'm improving so far. And obviously, we have our third round this weekend, and it's a triple crown, so I'm looking forward to that. Never raced a triple crown before, so that'll be a new experience for me. But yeah, just want to go fast and want to get out there in the top 10 consistently, and then work my way down. Maybe I should get a guitar out and just play the whole
What's
time.
that? You got a question?
How's it going, Benjamin? No worries, Alexis. How's it going, Benjamin? Doing good. Just do a little riding today. Um, we got a little bit of rain actually while we were riding, so it was good mud practice for us at my private track up in Whitesboro, Texas. So made for some good ruts. So hopefully this weekend we have some good ruts to practice or to race on.
Don't put me in it.
What was my first bike? My first bike was a Husqvarna 50, pretty much. Yeah, it was back when the Italians, well, back when BMW owned it. Yeah, it was a Husqvarna 50, so it was the blue and yellow. Um, Actually, it was before BMW owned it. Excuse me, it was back when it was Husqvarna. I'm not sure who owned it, but it was the blue and yellow bike. And yeah, it was sweet.
Stop. Stop. No. No.
Okay, I'll just be here socializing.
You be socializing.
Definitely, Yo Benjamin. I'm definitely a fan of Supercross. Definitely a fan of Supercross. However, I grew up racing motocross. Um, we're having technical difficulties. Courtney took my keys, and so now my car is freaking out. So blame her, everyone. She took my keys, so now my car is angry. That's right. So yeah, but I've become a fan of Supercross over the years. Obviously, we raced a lot of motocross in the amateur days. There was really no Supercross back then, so that's what we grew up with. But I've come to really like Supercross. Um, come to really like Supercross, and I haven't raced motocross in a while. Alexis, what age did I start riding? I started riding pretty much at age 7. Yeah, my brother was 8 years old, and we started riding in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's where we were riding originally. The number one question everyone wants to know: what made me come back to racing? Great question. Um, well, I didn't really have to come back to racing because I never left in spirit. Haha. No, it was something that I'd wanted to do. I just had to figure out when and had to figure out the logistics. Um, it was something that I looked into doing, in like 2015, 2016, but I just couldn't find the right opportunity in the right time. But obviously, as you get older, time is of the essence, so I had to pull the trigger and make it happen. So did that last year, 2018. Wanted to do a whole season last year, but we ended up only getting half the season, and then I got injured towards the end of the season. Um, I started racing probably well at 7 is when I started riding. Started racing more when I was 8 years old. Um, who got me into racing, or how did I get into racing? My dad was a racer back in the day in Scottsdale, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, and he was a pro. So when we were young, of course, we had to get bikes, and we started riding, and so that's how we started. Yeah, we're second generation. And actually, my grandfather owned a motocross track, so it's though he wasn't a racer, it kind of runs in the family, you could say. No story behind number 93. That was a number that was assigned to me based on the amount of points that I gained last year racing Supercross. Most memorable moment racing Supercross and motocross. Probably my first win, 2009, St. Louis, with the Geico Honda team. That was a good one, of course. Winning Loretta's your first time was pretty awesome. 2003, 65, 10 to 11 stock class. Winning the Amateur Destinations event in Bulgaria um, back in 2007. That would have been with KTM. That was a neat experience going overseas to race. Probably my second time. I had a lot of good experiences with racing though, so not necessarily one. I think that's above the rest, but some good memories. What's my gnarliest crash? Well, it's hard to pick one. Sometimes the gnarliest crashes aren't the worst in terms of injury, but they're certainly the most exciting and spectacular, unfortunately. But yeah, I definitely had a couple of those over the years. Actually, not as many as maybe some because I've always been a pretty smooth rider, but eventually it'll reach up and bite you. So had some crashes over the years. Hey everyone, say hello to Cody Gilmore. Yeah, Cody. Yeah, I'm live right now. I'm live on the Moto Hub. Say what's up. Yeah, yeah. Take it. Oh, we do? Well, you heard it first, folks. We need inner tubes. Hmm. Do I still have the light blue Hawaiian shirt? Light blue. You have to. Light blue Hawaiian. What was on it? I probably do, but I can't recall exactly which one that was. I've had a few Hawaiian shirts over the years. Yeah, the sport's developed and evolved a little over the years. Not necessarily, from year to year, but if you take a step back and 3 or 4 years goes by, you can see some differences when you come back. For example, when I first turned pro, there was only maybe 2 live races that year, televised um, live, and then last year before, in more recent years, most of the races have been live. I'm not exactly sure what the current situation is with the new channel, but so that's one thing that's changed. Obviously, the starting gate's been something that's changed. Yeah, that wasn't something that I was starting on back in 2013 and 14. We're starting on dirt back then, of course, and that's what we grew up starting on, that and concrete and amateur races. The tracks have changed a little with certain obstacles. It seems like they've sort of come and gone. Of course, technology has advanced, both in regards to the bikes, but also in regards to safety equipment, which is a good thing. But obviously, the bikes get a little bit better, every 2 3 years, and so that makes speeds go up. And speeds go up means we can go faster on a track. So the lap times, I would say, probably have gotten a little shorter on some of the supercross tracks. Obviously, we used to do 15 lap mains, and now we're doing 21 lap mains, sometimes 22, 23 lap mains, depending on the track, because we're doing minutes as opposed to laps. Other sports growing up, yeah, actually I did do some other sports growing up. I did soccer when I was really young. Um, Yo, Jake, talk to me. Supermoto questions coming my way. Yeah, we did soccer growing up. Of course, we were very young, and we went homeschooled in fourth grade, so we really didn't get to pursue a lot of the school sports. Some baseball, when we were really young and things like that, but nothing really stuck. Um, Once you start racing, it can tend to be taking over. Yeah, we're doing Supermoto this year, Jake. That's a good question. I'd like to. Yeah, we have to talk about it. Maybe look at the AMA series, maybe the Supermoto East Coast series as well. I've talked to both those guys in like a couple months ago, and it sounded like they had a pretty good schedule coming up. But definitely would like to do some Supermoto at least for practice. We have a local track here at Eagle Canyon. We also have Norman, Oklahoma. It's not too far, and that's where we can do some supermoto practice. And I have my Suzuki Supermoto bike, and have to break that thing out and do some riding. You have to come down here, Jake, and we can do some practicing. What was the other question? I missed it. What do you guys think of my tie loop beanie? Pretty cool, huh? My Liat glasses. Yeah. Have you ever been to the Southwick Nationals before? Yes, I raced Southwick my first year. It was actually my second race turning pro in 2008. That was with the Geico guys, and it was a pretty good race for me. Actually, I got the whole shot, one moto, and actually led for a while, so that was cool. Got to ride with, I believe it was Villapoto that year and Dungy. So got to ride with some good guys that year, and did pretty good at that race. So that was exciting. But Southwick's definitely a challenging technical brutal race. Two strokes versus four strokes. Well, two strokes are fun. They're nostalgic. They smell real good. But I haven't raced two stroke in a long time, so I'm gonna have to go with four strokes. They just I think they suit my riding style a little bit more. Um, the 252 strokes are definitely fun because they have the torque and the power, whereas the 125 two strokes or the 144 two strokes, you have to really wrap them out and stay on the pipe. But fun to watch, fun to ride as well. My brother was a big two-stroke man. He raced the two-stroke well into the four-stroke years, and he did well on it. And it's a good tool to help you get better as a racer. So definitely good for beginners and novices and people who are looking to improve their skills riding two strokes. Um, I missed a couple questions here. Let's see. My best year racing. Well, 2012 and 2013 were good years for me. I got two thirds. Well, I got a third in 2012 overall, and I got a third in 2013. But yeah, I mean, 2007 was a great year for me in amateur racing. 2006 was a great year for me in amateur racing. I won a lot of championships those years, and that's what eventually led to me signing with the Geico guys for 2008, 2009, 2010, and so on. But hey, I'd like to think maybe my best racing years yet to come. So, I mean, I've had some good years in the past, of course, but I can't look back. I got to look forward and to the future. How do you soak up jumps? That's a great question. In regards to soaking up jumps, I think you have to, yeah, Mitchell Gifford, you rascal, Mr. 111, everybody, 111. How do you soak up jumps? Um, you got to hit him with some speed. Really, that's how you learn it. I believe that's how James Stewart learned it too originally. The infamous Bubba Scrub. Yeah, Nicholas, talk to me. BW93. Yeah, yeah, more good years coming up, whether it's, on a dirt bike or, doing something else. Good years for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that I'm improving as an athlete, even now. The more you ride, the longer you ride, I think the better you get as a racer and as a rider for sure, technically. And in race scenarios, you just got to make sure that you're in shape and you're ready to go and you put the preparation um, forth. And who knows what can happen? Get good starts, put yourself up front, see what can happen. Mentally ready? Well, I'd like to think so. All my time in Belgium for the Supermoto Matet has made me headstrong. That's for sure. Got a chance to ride with the TM guys over there for Supermoto Matet. To those of you who don't know, that's the largest supermoto race in the world, and it's in Belgium. And I got a chance to do it a couple years back, and Jake was over there with us. A couple Americans were over there, so I got to learn a lot over there. I've raced in the States with some supermoto stuff, but nothing at that level before. And I was able to learn some things and some motor skills and some bike skills that were really, really important going forward. Bowers getting DQ'd on Saturday. Yeah, I thought that that was a bit excessive. I think that the AMA and Feld and FIM has to really figure out, if they're going to be governing things like this, and if so, then they need to be on top of everything and not just the one thing that maybe looked the worst. Because obviously we've seen a lot of aggression out of riders over the years, especially a guy like Barsha. So it's a bit hypocritical, in my opinion. If they're going to govern it, they need to do a better job doing it. If they're not, well, then it's a free for all. It's every man for themselves, like the old West, Wild West out here, and then they don't need to dock Bowers for it. So I thought it was a bit excessive for sure. Sorry, I missed another question, guys. I was distracted mentally. Oh, track layout, Nicholas. Um, Yeah, I've looked at it. I looked at it, the Detroit track map this weekend, and it looks good. It looks similar to what we've been racing on. The tracks all have a similar feel, which is not necessarily a bad thing. but I've never been to Detroit before to race, so that'll be a first for me. And of course, the Triple Crown layout will be a new experience as well. But I'm hoping that those shorter motos and those quick racing will be good. I grew up racing a lot of different classes at a lot of different motos and a lot of different races. Sometimes I would race, 10, 12 motos a day, and then go race the next day, 8, 10 motos that day. And so I was used to it at one point, and I still think I have that good mm, racing mentality since I've done it my whole life. So I'm hoping that the three moto format can be good for me. I'm heading out in the morning. Yeah, pretty early. Uh, let's see. Who did I look up to when I was young? I looked up to, let's see, my favorite rider was probably Steve Lamson because he was on the Husqvarna at that time when I was younger. So I had to go with Steve, and I got the privilege to work with Steve when I was younger, growing up, and Steve's a good guy. Other guys I liked and I looked up to probably Ryan Hughes. You know, Ryan Hughes was pretty cool to watch, and um, there was a lot of good talented guys in that era that we watched, but yeah, those are a couple for sure. Um, how do I like the Honda? The Honda's good. It's a good bike. The chassis is great on it. It's only its second year in regards to you know being a new bike still. Um, so I think the bike has some room to grow. But I expect big things out of it. Probably this next year. Bikes usually in their third year are really really good, and of course once they get to the fourth or fifth year, they're even better because teams have more time to work on them and figure out new things. But a great bike, great chassis, very comfortable. Right when I got on it, I was immediately comfortable. Definitely an upgrade from you could say the last bike in regards to handling, in regards to just feeling overall comfortable on the bike. Very nimble in the corners, easy to turn. So I like that. And the Tyloo Honda team's been good. This is my first experience with these guys because I've never raced for them before. But I got a chance to get to know Buddy a little bit during the off season, and Joe over there from Tyloo, and good guys. They work hard, and yeah, I expect some big things from them. In the near future, they have a good program, and with the right riders, I think they could be front runners consistently. Do I wear a chest protector and a neck brace? Well, I've always worn a chest protector, and I've worn a neck brace since the early days back before the Liat. But I stopped wearing a Liat and a neck chest protector or a neck brace, excuse me, recently this last year. And I still believe in wearing as much as you can that can protect you, but I've taken a different approach in regards to safety, and I uh, I think that the added mobility that it gives me has allowed me to be a little bit better on the bike, a little bit smoother, a little bit more agile. So that's a personal decision I've taken upon myself to make in recent years. But I am a fan of you know um, safety and of course things that are going to help us continue to race. So just because I'm not wearing it now doesn't mean that I don't think it has its purpose, and I think that ultimately the gear will get better, and the neck braces will get better. So I'll take a look at it at that point. Da, 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 da. Cornering tips. Yeah, well, that's there's a lot of different things that you can do to help cornering, but I would say most people need to learn how to use their front brake. There's a lot of different things that you can do, weighting the outside peg, leaning in to the corner, momentum, of course, using the throttle appropriately, but being in the right gear. But learning how to use the front brake is probably one of the biggest things and most challenging thing to do. Who's your favorite musician? Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I'm a big Alice in Chains fan, of course, and anything Cornell is great. And but I have a wide variety of music that I grew up listening to. So there's some contemporary, some Christian, some gospel stuff, some disco that I grew up listening to as well that I really like, and some modern rock as well. Do I bring the axe on the road with you? No, with me, I can't bring the guitar, guys. Sorry. I have a miniature acoustic Taylor guitar, but that would probably be the easiest one to take. Or I have a Yamaha silent guitar, which would be good for hotel rooms. That way, I don't wake anybody up. But I would like to. Maybe I can get a guitar on the rig one of these days. Interesting story. Back in 2009, at Thunder Valley Outdoor National, Ziggy, my team owner of Geico Honda, and one of the team owners of Geico Honda, and team owner, owner of Factory Connection, told me if I podiumed that he was going to get me a drum set to put on the rig. So that was pretty sweet. Unfortunately, the second moto I got taken out. The first moto I got in a fourth, and I was in like second or third. The second moto, and got taken out. So there went my drum set and potentially my drumming career. So what a shame. What a shame. Where am I from? I'm from. Well, I was born in Houston, Texas, but I grew up in Pilot Point, Texas, which is North Texas, Dallas adjacent. Denton is the closest town to us, the closest big town, and that's where I live now. But we also grew up some in Arizona, so Scottsdale, Phoenix, Arizona. So I got to ride a lot of those local tracks when I was younger. Canyon, Speed World, Globe, all of those epic Phoenix tracks. Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I like to think I have the skill and the ability to run up front, but as to what it's going to take to be a podium guy, I would say we just have to get a little more comfortable on the bike. Make some adjustments there. Like I've spoke on before, we had a bit of a late start this year, so not quite as much testing as I would have liked to have had. Not quite as much racing as I would have liked to have had. I'd like to think that my cardiovascular is going to get better each time I race, and obviously each round that's my goal is to get a little bit better. So I think those two things are going to be really good for me, and obviously if I can get the starts back and sort of get these gate drops figured out, that'll help me a lot as well. Favorite Kardashian sister? No comment. Definitely no comment on that one. Um, as far as suspension goes, um, big fan of Factory Connection. I've been with those guys for a long time, and I just think that they make some really good stuff. So it's the Cadillac of suspension companies. The Supercross and Motocross Factory Connection is. It's a smooth ride. Mm. But speaking of Kardashian sisters, Cody Gilmore, former Supercross racer, motocross racer, he's a big fan of one of the younger ones. That's about the extent of my Kardashian knowledge. Yeah, so we'll have to hit him up on what he thinks. Mm-hmm. I need to find a place to put this phone, don't I? How long have I been growing my hair? A long time, probably since 2013. If I had to think back, and I've had little, maybe tiny haircuts here and there just to kind of get it all back in order. But been growing it a long time, and it's actually really long right now. So long hair, don't care. Got to run it, got to rock it, take it. Yeah, I grew up with Cody, racing and riding with Cody. He's older than me, so I never got to race him when I was younger. But in 2009, he raced the East Coast Supercross, and I raced the East Coast Supercross as well. That was my first year racing Supercross, and we trained here in Texas at some of my tracks. So we've got some good history with Cody, and I'm probably running him crazy right now with all my shenanigans. But it's fun. We have a good time. Yeah, about my trip to Africa. That's a good a good thing to talk about. It was great. Yeah, we got the chance to go to Uganda, East Africa this last year, and we actually did a story on it. So that was cool. Anytime I get a chance to travel the globe doing stories for Racer X on motocross is really fun. One of the things I like to do. I enjoy that a lot. I've enjoyed writing, being a guest columnist for those guys. But what was the most memorable thing? Well, the plane ride over is pretty darn memorable. I wouldn't say that it was good memorable. I mean, we were like three different airplanes, three, four different airports, and stopping all over the place. But no, it was a good time, and the family that I stayed with over there, that we stayed with over there, was is a really good people, and they took care of us while we were there. But neat experience, different culture over there, different way of life, different food. So everything was much different than what I'm used to. Much different than Europe and South America as well. So definitely like to go back there one of these days and maybe experience a little bit more. Um, yeah, Uganda was cool. Good times in Uganda. That's better. Yeah, I have been to a couple training facilities. But the training facility thing was something that came around after I had turned pro. Really took off after I had turned pro. I've been to MTF and been there a day or two, and I know a couple people over there. And definitely some neat things and some good things that the training facilities can provide for sure. And there's a lot of nice ones these days, it seems. Do I train riders? I do train riders on the side, and I try to do maybe once or twice a week training. Of course, more training sessions in the off season. It's something I do enjoy, and keeps me involved with racing, of course, even if I'm not currently racing at the time. But I do enjoy that. Do I have any pets? How do I like the Liat gear? Do I have any pets? Yes and no. My mom has two boxers. I pretty much consider them my pets at this point. And then my dad adopted a dog that I pretty much claimed as well as my own. Although he doesn't live with me just yet, I hope maybe one day he will. Maybe during the off season he can come stay with us. His name's Pee Wee, just in case you were wondering, and he's a tiny little dog. But the Liat gear, yeah, I really do like the Liat gear. It's working out nice. I wore the Liat neck braces, and I've been wearing those. I started wearing those in 2007. Actually, probably was the first amateur kid to be wearing the Liat neck brace. Um, and so they make a good product. I've known that for a while, and the gear is just as good. So definitely enjoying the Liat stuff. And um, Washougal, Washougal's awesome. Washougal is probably one of my favorites. Me and Dungy tied in for the overall that one of those years. Let's see, what was it? Was it 2009? For the win. I ended up getting second because he had a better moto score than me, so he took the win. But really like Washougal. The sun's a little bit tough to deal with. Um, that glare is tough. That's probably one of my least favorite things about it. But it's a beautiful place, and one of the most aesthetically pleasing places you can go to. It's really nice. It's definitely my favorite. Am I good in the mud or the sand? Well, I've definitely done my fair share of mud riding over the years, though I haven't done as much recently. And last year when we had that big mudder at Seattle, I just wasn't ready for it. It just was totally brutal. Probably one of the most gnarliest mud races of all time, Supercross wise. So that one threw me for a loop. And right about the last lap, is when I started feeling good. Um, San Diego, yeah, San Diego was a mess. Didn't look too bad earlier in the day because obviously it was still raining and the water was just sort of washing off. But when it stopped raining and when it started to get really just muddy and just it was a mess, absolute mess. Um, was I glad I wasn't there? Depends how well I would have done. That's how I feel about the mud. If you do good, great, I love it. If you don't do good, then you're not so happy. But I think that's everyone. Maybe we'll have a mudder this year at Daytona, maybe New Jersey. Hard to say. We have a couple open stadiums, so it's always a possibility. Got to be ready for anything. Well, yeah, boots. I've I've worn a couple different boots over the years. That's for sure. But I'm not sure of the pricing. Um, but I am a big fan of the Garnets. I've worn those off and on for a long time, and I think that they're a really good boot safety wise, and I think they're probably they last the longest. I'm not sure what they are price wise, but Garnets are pretty great. Um, will I be at the Southwick Nationals this year? That's a great question. It's hard to say. You never know what opportunities will arise after Supercross or towards the end of Supercross, but Southwick is a neat event. If we could go up there just for the weekend, even if I'm not racing it, we probably would. But hard to say at this point. There could be some off-season Supercross races as well that we could be interested in doing, and so stay posted on social media, and we'll keep you guys updated. Take you through a typical week for me. Well, during the season, since we are during the season, um, I'll sort of explain that for you guys. We fly back from the races Sunday and just try to relax as much as possible. Depending on where we're flying from, it can be a pretty long day. And Monday we'll get back in the gym and start doing some cardio and maybe do some long cardio. Just try to get the body back moving and get it back, wake it up, if you will. We'll definitely do some riding on Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe more during the week, depending on how hard we're going. But definitely want to get a couple good hard days in during the week. Try to emulate racing as much as possible. Don't want to do too much during the week because obviously you have to be ready and fit and ready to go on Saturday, and Saturdays do take a lot out of you. So you want to be sharp. And so we try to do that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're in the gym again, but maybe starting to taper down. And then, of course, Friday, we're flying out. And this last weekend, we were fortunate because it was Dallas Supercross, so it was close for me. But tomorrow morning, pretty early, we'll fly out and we'll get in. We'll go straight to the restaurant or straight to the hotel and relax for a bit and then get ready for racing on Saturday. Saturdays are pretty long days. Fortunately, you don't have to get up too early. But once you get to the track, it's pretty much wide open for a while. So you definitely want to lay it all on the line on the track. And you want to make sure you come home tired, and that way you know you've given it your all. The most difficult aspect of Supercross, in my opinion, the most difficult aspect is, and I remember this when I first started riding Supercross, and of course, uh, I'm pretty familiar with getting reacquainted with Supercross, and it was just as hard, if not harder. But getting your breathing down, Supercross is so intense. You can have your heart rate at 200 essentially for the whole time, and most people can't carry that the whole time, but you could if you're it's that intense, it's that exciting, it's that crazy, um, and it's just so much movement. So I mean, motocross is tough, long motos, really really rough tracks, but Supercross takes it to another level in my opinion as far as cardiovascular goes. So the timing, you can get down the jumps, you can get down all of that, but getting your lungs adjusted is the easily the hardest thing. One of the hardest things probably any athlete could do. It's that challenging. Um, do I like the metal gates? Well, that's a good question. I haven't got as many hole shots on them yet, so maybe not quite yet. They're not my favorite yet, but I think that's a good concept, and I think that it was an interesting change that they decided to make. Do I prefer dirt? Probably because I grew up on dirt. But I intend to get these starts down, and hopefully sooner rather than later. I know there's a lot of different technology that some of the teams and factory teams are using nowadays that can help get us off the gate. But definitely need to look into some of those things and to make sure my reflexes are strong and make sure I'm getting my practice in. We actually did some starts today. We have a gate, so um, just need more time. Yeah, I did hear that song. I believe I heard it. Where did I hear it? I think on the Pulp Show. I think I heard it. And I would definitely say that it was probably some of Adam's finer work. I don't do rap personally, but to each his own, and genre is just another way to relate to someone. So I like instrumentation. I tend to be more of a rock man, but speaking of music, also we have a song coming out soon. So guys, stay posted. I'll be letting you know when we're going to release that. You dig it, Alexis? That's your tune. That's your new Facebook, MySpace song for your page. Do I have a daily diet? Yeah, I do. I do have a daily diet. It's pretty complex, but just try to to keep it simple, I just try to stay away from a lot of carbs. I try to stay away from the sugars, a lot of sugars, especially late at night. And I try not to eat too early in the morning. Try to wait till around 10. Obviously, a lot of water, a lot of drinking, a lot of fats, a lot of a lot of vegetables, of course. Yeah, not too many carbs, and um, minimal fruit, you could say. But fruit's not too bad. A lot of it will depend on when you're eating. So if I'm eating before I ride, it's a little bit different as opposed to eating, maybe midday or eating breakfast or dinner. It can change. Things you're going to want to stay away from depending on the time of day. If I had to start a band of all moto guys, that's a good question. It's let's see. Well, I definitely have to have Justin Hill. I think me and him could do some cool stuff. Um, we're both big fans of the grunge movement, the grunge bands, and he can do some pretty sick covers of Alice in Chains and Cornell and all those guys. And I think we could do some cool harmonizing. So he's also a good guitarist, so that'd be cool. Who else do we have out there? I'm sure there's some good amateur racers that are musicians as well that would be pretty cool to jam with. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm missing a couple guys. Who else is there? There's a couple rappers out there. Yeah, we could do some projects with. Um, but probably if I had to pick one guy, probably definitely have to be Justin Hill. Yeah, Plessinger, he plays. Yeah, he's a country man. Another guy who I have jammed with a good bit is Thomas Covington. He's also a bit of a country man, but I actually was jamming with Thomas back in before he went to Europe. So back when he was turning pro, he was on Kawasaki's, and he uh, he was a keyboardist back then, or a piano man, and he was really good. And so we would do some tunes sometimes, and I would play guitar, and I would play the drums sometimes. And now he's a electric guitarist, so we talked about music actually just the other weekend. So that was cool. Do I have any other hobbies? Yeah, I sure do, and I've got yeah, I've got some hobbies. I like writing. Um, I like reading. Big science fiction man. I enjoy film, documentary, going to the movies, that sort of thing. Music is a passion, hobby of mine. Playing the guitar, writing songs, recording, and training. Yeah, training guys. That's a bit of a job, but it's also you could say a hobby or a passion of mine. I've been to a lot of different motorcycle instructors and a lot of really good trainers over the years, so I have a lot of experience and, of course, what I've learned over the years, and I feel like I can bring a lot to the table. But I do enjoy training guys, especially guys that are willing to put in the work and are, making big gains. I do enjoy that. Okay, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have to do it again. Um, I haven't heard of that race. Maybe I have. I don't know. I saw some two strokes one year. I don't know if that was it or not. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions for me or you would like to continue the conversation, of course I'll be back on with these guys, hopefully sooner rather than later. But yeah, hit me up on social media. and we can continue the conversation. Thanks to the Moto Hub for having me on, and yeah, if you're in Detroit this weekend, stop by. If you're at one of the future Supercross events, stop by, say hello. I might look a little angry sometimes, but I'm in a good mood and pretty nice guy. So yeah, look for me, look for Courtney, maybe Cody Gilmore, and we'll say what's up. Thanks, guys.